Welcome into the Jon and Lebo show. Alex Leibowitz here with John Sokoloff. John, how's it going?
I was doing all right this morning, and then I saw your shirt, the Maroon Out 2001. Is that Texas?
Yep, Texas A&M, I think. I don't know. I was given this shirt. No idea what it means. I'm just
Who
wearing it.
gave, who gave you that? Who gave you a 2001 Maroon Out? That's definitely a game that just no one remembers.
Yeah, no one remembers. It's very old. It's a very old shirt, but it's like brand new. It's like it was made probably in 2001, but no one's worn it since then. So this is a new shirt that I've worn, but it's
Does that classify it as brand new still? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not worn. If it's not worn, it's brand new in my opinion. But my dad's buddy, he I don't know what he does. I'm not sure what he does for a living, but he knows people who are involved in sports in some way. Like for me, my brother's bar mitzvah, like um every one of us got an autographed Cam Griffey Jr. ball. Like every single I feel like the guy just has a closet full of autographed balls. They just like, oh, that bar mitzvah, here we go, and he just gives it to kids. So this guy just has a bunch of clothes, and I'm like, this is good stuff. I'll take it. So yeah, I got new shoes. I got these. I got the shorts I'm wearing too. He gave me. It's great. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, well, he just gives you old clothes that I don't get it. How do you know this guy?
It's my dad's
Like
friend.
how good of friends?
They've known each other
For
for probably 30 years, 40 years, if I had to guess.
Wow.
They go way back. So it's not a random guy who's putting smallpox in these clothes and giving them out to people. He just do it out of the kindness. He's like, I don't need this stuff. A lot of it might be too big for me. I just might not wear it. Might not be my style. You have 1,000 pounds of kids at home. You take it.
That's my favorite joke because at one point that was true. He did have 1,000 pounds of kids at home.
Oh no, yeah, he did. And not anymore. We've all slimmed down a little bit.
Yeah,
Actually, every single one of us has actually lost weight since that time where we were over 1,000 pounds collectively.
Was it that reference? Was that reference the one that made you?
No, because I
really are 1,000 pounds. Let's work together to make this reference not be valid anymore.
I think that he came up with it a few years ago and has just stuck with it. So the first time I heard it was a couple weeks ago. I heard him explain it to a guy. He saw someone who used to work with him. I didn't know who he is. He's a typical dad seeing a guy that he knows like every time he goes, hey, Mark, how's it going? So he saw this guy and he's like, yeah, this is my youngest. We got 1,000 pounds of kids at home. And so that's usually, I think it was just the first time that I've heard him say it. But yeah, it's a great expression. It's a good line.
Before we move on, the four of you, do you think the four of you weighed more than the combined kids in Cheaper by the Dozen with Steve Martin?
No, I don't think so. Because we had to. I think the fat one with the
in the movie, not now. Them in the movie.
No, I know. I think that you got the high school quarterback or the high school kid who doesn't like his father all that much.
Yeah, he's probably like 180.
He's probably 170, 180. You got the fat one with the cap. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. He was probably, but he was like 12. He was probably only like 140, 150.
Okay, he was 170. So right there, you have 340 pounds worth of kids. So now you have to get to the remaining 660 with what 10 kids. I think they're getting there.
Yeah. I think the rest of them are probably like 100 pounds each, probably less around there. You're probably looking at 1,200 pounds a kid for them, but that's for 12. That's for 12 kids. You had 4 for 1,000. So yeah, you almost caught up to them. But the fact that he was even close in the first place is definitely something to look at. But
what?
Everything else, man, I'm like it's been pretty boring. Like the first week of preseason, but it's just like it's just like to get a look at guys. Like no one's trying to win games. You're just trying to see like you're not playing defenses to win. You're playing defenses to learn about players. Like no zones really as much. They want to see corners playing like one-on-one stuff. They want to see guys that are like what they're able to do. So I mean, it's nothing. And like a lot of the guys are still like the rosters still have a ton of players on them. There's still a lot of guys that got to get cut. So it's a nice preview for football, but it's still pretty boring.
Yeah, no, it is. I don't know what's more overhyped, the preseason NFL preseason or NBA Summer League. I tend to stay NBA Summer League. I think people love to go off on it and just be like, "Oh, you see this guy?" Like, it's cool. You get to see the young guys go, but who gives a shit? At the end of the day, I think the preseason is kind of the same deal. Like, it's a lot of guys out there who have a lot to prove, but they're really not all that talented. Their ceiling is to be a special teamer. You see that a ton. Um, Only thing I really like preseason for is Hard Knocks. This year it's with the Bucks. I love that show. Even if it's not a good season, I'm all the way in. Like
How's it been? I haven't watched it.
it's pretty good. You know, it's the same as it has been. You know, there's really like a selective few teams that would make it awesome, and a selective few coaches that would make it awesome. This isn't one of those years. Like, you got Jameis Winston, you get to see an insight on what he's like in the locker room, which is kind of cool. You know, Gerald McCoy, you have all these other guys. You have your practice squad or your potential cut storylines. That Roberto Aguayo, or what's that guy's name? The kicker.
No, that is his name. That was ridiculous. Second round pick, traded up to get him a kicker in the second round, and they just cut him.
And they show him getting cut. So they show a lot of the cuts. They show this guy who was a second round pick who can't make a 45-yard kick consistently. And they show him getting cut. And it's really depressing. Like, because he's obviously shook. Like, he's like trying to like continue the conversation, but he's not. He's like out to lunch. He's not there. You could tell it's very somber. Like, it's like, that sucks. Like, you're the most consistent NFL or college kicker of all time, one of them. You are a high draft pick, like the highest since like Janikowski, and you get there and you can't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, you just suck, and it carries over. And with someone like that, it's clear that it's mental. It's such a mental position to play, kicker. So to see that downfall, it's depressing. To see him get cut, it's depressing. The only thing I can compare it to is when the Dolphins were in Hard Knocks and you saw Chad Johnson get cut, or Ocho Cinco, whatever it was then. When you saw him get cut by Joe Philbin, the most boring coach to ever hold the position. And yeah, Richard Deitch, SI media critic, he's kind of against it, and I can see that point. It's very personal to see that. And I don't know if they should show. It's messed up in a way.
Yeah, I mean, the one time I saw they cut some guy. I forget who it was on the Bucks, because I watched like a little bit of it, and they said, "Don't take it personally." It's all personal. If you were better personally, if you were personally a better football player, you'd be on the team.
I think what they mean is like, it's not because we don't like you. It's like just so you know, you're good enough. We just like, you're a loser. We just don't want you around this team. It's not like that.
About talent, right?
No, I get that. Don't take it personally, because maybe some guys are. I don't know. Some people it is personal though. Like, you think Bill Belichick's never cut someone for personal reasons? Like, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't hold the door for me, or so. I don't know if he'd do that, but like, he does that all the time. People do that all the time. You mess up. It is personal. With him, it wasn't. It was just, I mean, it is kind of. It speaks to how much confidence he has in himself and how much mental toughness he has, because he couldn't make a freaking kick. Then you have Nick Folk, guy who's 32. You know, he's on the Jets for a while, but not a high-end kicker these days. He beats him out for that position over a guy who's supposed to turn into one of the best kickers of this generation. It sucks, but now he's with the Bears, and maybe he'll make the team, maybe he won't. But we could see a 30 for 30 about this guy in a couple of years. The best that never was.
Other things, like also on the Bears, Mitch Trubisky, he looked pretty good. I watched that game when they played. He led a few really, really good drives. Looked like he had command. He looks like a smart guy. Maybe moving up from 3-2 to get him, it will end up being a really good move by the Bears. Who knows? I mean, Mike Glennon, on his first pass of the year, threw a pick six. He's getting paid $15 million a year, which is ridiculous. So if he doesn't start and he's a backup, I mean, who knows? Maybe next year we could see Trubisky as their franchise guy, and them giving up Mike Glennon and a second-round pick to a team just so they'll take that contract. Something like a Brock Osweiler deal. Who knows? Also tonight we got Cutler. Jay Cutler's first game in Miami. He was just signed with them 11 days ago, and now tonight he's making his Dolphins debut. I mean, that'll be definitely something to look at. Definitely interesting. And another thing, Jordan Matthews traded 6 days ago from the Eagles to the Bills, and the Eagles traded Matthews and a third-round pick for Ronald Darby. And the first Bills game for Matthews is in Philly against the Eagles. He won't play tonight, but that'll be another interesting thing too. So there have been a few good storylines this week, as opposed to that. Also, Ezekiel Elliott 6-game suspension that happened 6 days ago too. So a lot of preseason storylines. So the storylines are great, but the games aren't as great.
What do you make of this Ezekiel Elliott suspension?
I think the Cowboys are in trouble. I mean, everyone was saying the Cowboys are in trouble. Everyone was saying before how there will be a, a sophomore slump for Dak, whatever. And this was before the Zeke suspension was even going to come about. This guy took so much pressure off Dak Prescott, and if there's no Ezekiel Elliott, then he's not winning. Then Dak Prescott's not winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. A hot take, I know, but seriously. I mean, like, you take a look at it. Ezekiel Elliott had like so many carries for them. He rushed for like 1,700 yards. They ran the ball more than any other team. Pressure on him, and he did great things last year. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but his first 6 games of the year, he's going to have some tough tests. The Cowboys, look at Week 1. These are all without Zeke. If he files an appeal for the suspension, maybe he'll get 4 games. Week 1 versus the Giants. They struggled with the Giants last year anyway. They lost both games. Week 2 in Denver, high altitude, one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in football, in Arizona to play the Cardinals on a Monday night. So those are 3 very tough games throughout the season. You start out without the best running back in football, it's going to be tough. We'll learn a lot about Dak Prescott. Then after that, they got the Rams and 49ers and also the Packers. That'll be a tough game. But it's going to be a lot. And Zeke will return Week 7 against the Packers, actually. But missing a lot of time. If they can't go anything better than 3-3 in that stretch, I think the Cowboys could be in a lot of trouble. I really do.
Do you think it's warranted? That's what I want to get to, because there's a lot. Obviously, it's going to affect the Cowboys' offense. I mean, you have one of the best running backs in the league in that backfield who's out for the first 6 games. That's huge. Obviously, Dak Prescott's play will drop down because of this. You need a good run game. But I want to there weren't any charges pressed against them. They have their own investigation. And whenever you have a domestic violence issue like this, you have to take it very seriously. But I don't know if it was warranted. I don't know if they had the evidence to really give him 6 games, to suspend him for 6 games. I'm not saying what. Well, that's the thing. It seems like there's just an inconsistency with the way the NFL does things from a suspension standpoint. I know that's no hot take. That's been the way it always is. But just because this is someone who is an alleged abuser doesn't mean we shouldn't look at this and criticize the way that the NFL's gone about handling this. I heard someone say that it's better to over-suspend someone for domestic abuse than under-suspend. I think that's not a great way to look at these types of things. You should just try to, instead of doing it from a public relations standpoint, be consistent with the way you suspend people.
And look at all the facts.
And look at all the facts. There's a lot of things coming out from this the victim of this, who was threatening Ezekiel Elliott, blackmailing him. That's horrible. And for people who are like, I'm all for understanding. I'm all for looking at all the evidence, but to discredit an abuser, a victim, an alleged victim, is ridiculous. Well, if there's someone who has tried to blackmail a person, I think you can discredit them. I think that kind of throws all the credit out the window, doesn't it? Yeah. You're someone who is trying to ruin someone else's life, and hold something against them that was originally consensual and change the whole narrative to try to get money out of him. Where's the logic in saying you can't discredit that person? No, that person's probably a piece of shit. That's the reality of it. And obviously you still have to look into it. But if this person was simply trying to blackmail Ezekiel Elliott and that comes out, not only should they revoke any punishment, although Ezekiel Elliott, in my opinion, should be suspended anyway for his Mardi Gras stint. Or stunt.
I know.
But you should look at that and be like, okay, that's wrong. That's someone who's being framed. Like that's what it is. I know like domestic abuse and sexual assault, that's a serious issue. That should be taken seriously. But guess what? If you accuse someone of doing that to you and you were found to be lying, that is very egregious. That is a horrible thing to do as well. And that happens. And that's happened to athletes before, and it'll happen to athletes again. And this seems like it could be one of those instances based off the evidence that has been that's been shown. So we'll look at that, and I think that people are really like one-sided on this issue. It's called, you're innocent until proven guilty. That's what I believe in. Obviously, if someone alleges something as egregious as that, you have to take them at their word. I understand that too, but you also have to look into it. And if this as evidence comes out that this person who is the alleged victim was also trying to blackmail Ezekiel Elliott, then maybe this person had ulterior motives. And maybe that's why Ezekiel Elliott is getting framed. That said, Ezekiel Elliott is an idiot. Ezekiel Elliott is a moron. I don't feel that bad for him because he did put himself in this situation. You look at what he did at the Mardi Gras event. He pulled a woman's breast out of her shirt.
Yeah, all that.
And like, dude, you're in the NFL now. You were one of the best running backs in college football. You were the rookie of the year, or was he the rookie of the year?
He wasn't, but come on, 1,700 yards.
He was runner-up to probably offensive rookie of the year, runner-up to probably his quarterback. And he was one of the best running backs as a rookie. Obviously, they had a great offensive line, but you have to be good to get to that point. You need to know better than to be doing those types of things. And didn't he punch a DJ? He's done
a lot.
He's done numerous.
Stuff,
so he should be suspended. Like he should have been suspended by now. I get that, but you still shouldn't allege things that he didn't do. Like you shouldn't hold things against him that he may not have done, and you should still wait for all the evidence to come out, especially given the evidence that has come out. That's my whole thought on it.
Yeah.
Does he deserve 6 games? Go on.
No, just finish your point. I was gonna go on to how this impacts the rest of the division.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't really give. It's going to be a good division. It's going to be tough to win. I think the Giants are probably going to come out on top if we're having that discussion. But I'm just my whole thing with this is I don't really give a shit about the NFC East right now. I give a shit about Roger Goodell and his inconsistency with handing out punishments and his inconsistency in regard to the way he investigates certain issues and how he tries to do things that instead of to do it for, because it's good, because it's the right thing to do, he does it because it's the best for the public, for PR. Josh Brown last year, I know this point's been made, he admitted to being an abuser to both his wife and children. Like, that guy's a dirtbag. He got 1 game. Ray Rice, 2 games. He was caught on camera punching his wife out. Ezekiel Elliott, he's getting 6 games because they're making up for the mistakes they've made in the past. And they're giving a punishment that might not be just. So I just look at that. I think it's a little ridiculous. The NFC East will pan out the way it pans out. I think the bigger issue here is Raj Goodell and the way he handles punishment and the way he treats his players in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. They've been inconsistent. It's really just a matter of the special circumstances, and they try to make it seem like, oh, well, it's a special circumstance of how severe what the person did was. No, it's based on the player. It's based on how it would affect the league. And at the end of the day, I think that's what they care about the most. But you'll take a look at the schedule. The Eagles and the Cowboys, because I don't think the Redskins really have a chance to win this division. These teams are already we're already competitive in it, and now they're just licking their lips, getting ready for these first 6 games. Because if the Cowboys are 2-4, 3-3, this is the time for these teams to really get ahead. I picked the Giants to win this division before the suspension even came out. But now, look, you got the Giants with that revamped defense, Landon Collins, and another year of being so great and just everything else on offense. They got Brandon Marshall now, made a lot of good moves. The Eagles acquiring Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith, some other good deep threats that they didn't have at all last year. And plus, also this week, trading Jordan Matthews to get an established corner in Ronald Darby. So they're getting themselves ready. They're all in right now, these teams, pretty much. So they gotta get ahead while Zeke is sidelined. That's all it's really gonna be. It's just gonna, in my opinion, this is just gonna make the division even more competitive and even more interesting. If it already was, I think the NFC East is the most interesting in the league.
Definitely I mean, it's the most well-rounded.
Yeah, most talked about teams too. So, I mean, I think any of those three could win the division. I think it's going to be the Giants. And I got to ask you, what were your thoughts on that Jordan Matthews trade for Matthews and a third-round pick for Darby? So essentially, really, Jordan Matthews was kind of like a throw-in, a guy that was a second-round pick from a couple of years ago, a pretty solid slot receiver. It's just I want to get your thoughts on that for the Bills, because the Bills now have 2 picks in the first, second, and third round of next year's draft.
What did they get for Sammy Watkins too? Because they traded him away, and then they got Matthews from the Eagles. What did they get for the Sammy Watkins trade?
They got a second-round pick out of that.
So
Sammy Watkins, and this is also a guy. He's a guy that they didn't want after next year. They didn't pick up his option. They don't want him. They don't want to have to deal with whatever it might be. They were like, hey, let's just cash out right now. It was Watkins and a 6th-round pick from the Bills to the Rams for E.J. Gaines and a 2018 second-round pick. So E.J. Gaines is another corner. So I mean, they just wanted to cash out, and it's smart. I mean, like, look, this team's going to have a lot of chances in the draft. They draft some very young and established talent. I like this move for the Bills.
And I think Matthews could end up being a better wide receiver, long-term locker room atmosphere type thing than Sammy Watkins. I think Sammy Watkins obviously talented, but Matthews is one of the most under the radar, like, good wide receivers in the league. Like, people don't realize how good he has been for the Eagles the past few years. That's a good pickup. And if they don't want Sammy Watkins, if they know he's not going to be a part of the future, why not get a pick for him? Why not
cash out before he gets hurt again?
Exactly. So I think the Bills are moving in the right direction. That said, they're taking a step back going into this year. They're not like they'll win 4 games. The AFC East is going to be trash. It's going to be garbage. I honestly think that the Patriots will probably sweep the AFC East. So I look at that. I think it's a good move. The Eagles, they needed help in their secondary. They got it. I don't know if I would have traded Matthews for that, though. I think Matthews was a good weapon. He's a good weapon.
Well, you also, I think he was like essentially a little bit of a throw-in in this trade. I mean, they gave up a 3rd-round pick for Darby, who was a 2nd. I think the Bills probably would have. The Eagles probably offered the 3rd for Darby, and the Bills were probably just like, throw in Matthews. They're like, all right, whatever. They just threw. I think from what I've heard from reports, it was a throw-in situation. And that also means the Eagles are going to get Aguilar to step up and be their starting slot receiver, which will be interesting to see. But last week at Eagles camp, I interviewed Matthews, and he's just a very well-spoken guy. He always says the right things when talking to him. And he knew, people asked him, hey, what are trade rumors? What does that mean to you? He goes, in the NFL, it's always a competition. You're always playing for your job. There's always the draft, free agency, trades, whatever. Something could always happen. You can't focus on that. And he's a very well-spoken guy. Went to Vanderbilt. He's smart as well. I think it's going to be a good move for the Bills.
So you're familiar with the Eagles? Why get rid of Matthews? Why was he a throw-in? Why didn't they see him as a guy to keep for the future? He's only 25, 24.
Yeah.
He's a good wide receiver. He's really good. Great weapon for Wentz. You have a young quarterback. You have your young wide receiver. Why get rid of him?
Well, the thing with Matthews is the Eagles are in a situation where they have some guys like Mac Hollins, Jeffrey, Torrey Smith. They have Nelson Aguilar. They have a lot of Marcus Johnson. They have a ton of young receivers, which is a problem, which is a good problem to have, because last year they were the second to last in the league in receiving yards. So they knew they were going to have to cut someone. They were probably going to have to cut someone, and if they cut Matthews because of it's young, it would have cost them a good amount of money, I think, because of his deal or something. The same thing with Aguilar, because they were both 1st, 2nd-round picks. They were owed some money from their rookie deals. So I think it was easy for them to do a throw-in because they had a ton of receivers. They got that guy Mac Hollins. It was really good in the preseason first game. Obviously, he had the touchdown, but that's not just it. He's been really good in practice. The main thing, Nelson Aguilar. This is his shot now to be the Eagles' slot receiver. Last year, he would drop so many balls. The city of Philadelphia hated that guy. And he's a little bit of an interesting story because in training camp, even watching him or hearing reports, he killed everyone. He kills everyone when no one's watching in training camp. Then you put him on the field, and he's dropping balls. And now apparently people think he's better, and he's going to turn the corner. The Eagles are giving him that second chance, and this is going to be his shot to really take it. Or if not, I mean, then they'll have another decision to make. He was a first-round pick. He has a lot of potential. The talent's there. He just needs to not be scared to catch the ball on game days. Like, obviously, who knows? But I like the move because this will give him a real shot, and I think he'll have less pressure because less people will be going for his job, other than like younger receivers who, in order to really get that job, they'll have to earn it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Matthews would have been a guy that they could have kept. I don't know. Like again,
they needed a corner. They needed another guy.
They needed a corner, but you're getting rid of. Was he their number one receiver last year? Like
no, but he would have probably like been a starting receiver for them, like a starting slot receiver or something. Put like Jeffrey and Smith on the outside and put Matthews.
Yeah, you got Jeffrey. They both up, but I don't know. You got a young quarterback in Wentz. You got to think they had some chemistry there.
They were best.
You want to keep him exactly. So you want to keep them both happy. So you got your franchise quarterback? It seems like a guy who can be an elite quarterback. Why not keep the guy that he likes around?
Yeah.
And keep that chemistry going, especially when they're both like 24, 25 years old. That's my whole point. I don't know. You need to fill that void in the secondary. I get that. I don't think Matthews was the guy to give up to get that to fill that void.
Well, I mean, who knows? We'll see. It all depends on Aguilar. If Aguilar does really well this season, then the Matthews trade looks great. And it all depends on Ronald Darby, too. Darby's a very good corner who they had their eyes on. They had a guy in the Eagles have Jalen Mills, who's a 7th-round pick. He looked okay last year. They don't really have a lot of speed in the backfield. They signed a guy, Patrick Robinson, from the Chargers, who said in an interview that he's 25% and he wants like to get himself like better. And Jim Schwartz was saying, yeah, it's good for guys to be down on themselves like this, because they put in like more work. It's not like I don't know how I feel about that. Saying that you're 25%, I don't think it looks good for fans or coaching staff. So, and they have another young corner in Rasul Douglas who's been inconsistent. Can't get beat as much. The defensive line is there. They just wanted to help out with the secondary.
Yeah, I get that. All
right, so what? Let's move on here to the MLB. Red Sox. What are they? 11-2 in August, tearing it up. Rafael Devers hit that homer over Chapman a couple nights ago. I saw that was awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was great. It's awesome because it's the Yankees, and I hate the Yankees. I hate the Yankees fans. We've been through this. Yeah, the Red Sox have been killing it lately. It seems like they've rallied around this media, them versus the media kind of narrative, and they're a team. And they're playing like a team, and they look like they're having fun. And they're looking like a team that could fight for the World Series, and I would not have said that a month ago.
That's good.
They've been playing very good baseball. They've been fun to watch, too. And a lot of the reason for that is two guys, Eduardo Nunez, who they traded for at the deadline, or before the deadline, and Rafael Devers, 20-year-old kid. Can't buy a beer in the park, but can hit home runs in there. So he's hit, I think, 6 home runs. I was at the game Monday night, and he hit 2 home runs on Monday night alone, which was awesome to watch. The first one was like a pop-up. He has a great stroke, and he has opposite field power. So if he gets under it a little bit to left field, opposite field, it's going over the monster. And he's had a couple wall ball doubles. He's had a couple home runs over that wall. And Fenway's definitely the place for him to play. Yeah, and obviously Sale's been pitching well. Porcello's kind of picked it up. The bullpen's been iffy, but they've been doing the job. They've just been playing good baseball. They've been consistent, and it's something you wouldn't expect to see 3 weeks ago for sure.
I mean, they look like a team that can really challenge. I never really thought of the Yankees as a team that could win the AL East. Even with Sonny Gray, I thought they'd make it like a lot more competitive. And there's still a lot of baseball left, but I still think it's the Red Sox division. I've said it all year, and I said it before the season started. I'm sticking with that pick. Sonny Gray's been solid for the Yankees, and I think he started like 3 times for them so far. But you look at Aaron Judge, and this is a stat that he's obviously cooled off since the All-Star break. 33 straight games of him striking out at least once. What do you see that as? Because there have been some guys that strike out a ton that are still like great, like Ryan Howard he struck out 200 times in a season. He still was
Adam Dunn
was really great. Yeah, Adam Dunn too. Is this like a bad sign for a guy that's like young, like making his way in the league, like who's shown power numbers but still has like this with it?
It is what he is. I mean, it's what he is. He's a power hitter. Like that's it. He's not a guy who's going to be hitting 330 consistently. Like he'll be a 260 guy, I think, when he levels out. But right now he's not. He's not this guy who's going to be winning the Triple Crown every single year. And people who thought that, I think it's a little ridiculous. He has a great power stroke. If he connects, it's going a mile. He's like a Giancarlo Stanton in that regard. But he's 25 years old. He's playing really well. No one expected him to play that well in the first half of the season, and he's cooled off. He's just a power hitter. They strike out a lot. That's what happens. And he'll be one of the better hitters in the league. I still think that. But to think he's like a well-rounded hitter, a well-rounded player in general is ridiculous. He's not. He's a power hitter. He just crushes balls. So what you're seeing now is closer to the real Aaron Judge than what we saw in the first half of the season. I think. There's a question that's been asked: would you trade Andrew Benintendi for Aaron Judge straight up? And for me, I would not. I would not do that at all. I think you look at the two players and you look at the two young cores between the Yankees and the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox are much better from a young core standpoint. Between Betts, Bogarts, Benintendi, Devers, and all the other guys, and Jackie Bradley Jr. even, they have they're set up for the future better than the Yankees. The Yankees still have a great farm system. They have a lot of young players coming up, but I look at a guy like Gary Sanchez who isn't consistent behind the plate from a defensive standpoint. Aaron Judge, who isn't consistent at the plate. He's someone who strikes out a ton. I just think that's who he is. I think he's a power hitter who strikes out a lot. That's what happens. I think the pitchers have gotten better. Power hitters have gotten stronger. And when he connects, it goes a mile, but a lot of times he doesn't. That's why he struck out in each of the last 33 games, setting a record in that regard. That's something to worry about as a Yankee fan, too. And for them to think that Aaron Judge is going to pick it back up and become this guy who's going to lead the league in every offensive category, it's ridiculous. He's not. He's someone who is a power hitter. That's it. That's what he is. He crushes the ball. He's great in the home run derby. Outside of that, he's not going to be. He's not going to be a Bryce Harper. He's not going to be Mike Trout. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's just the New York media, which really makes me angry, just blowing that out of proportion. Just like,
oh my god, the way that Yankee fans really like kiss this guy's ass it's sickening. Like this isn't something that happens in Boston. This is something being exposed to Yankee fans more and more since going to Ithaca in New York. This is solely a New York media thing, and it's not a Mets thing. It's like it's the Yankees. It's Yankee fans. Like they still think that it's 1927 and that they are like, oh, it's the Yankees. Like they're so amazing. Like no, you're another baseball team who hasn't even been the best team in the MLB for the past 15 years. You've been taking over. You're not the best of the best anymore. Oh, but we're going to get Harper. We're going to get Machado. Probably not. Like, you might not get either of those guys. But they all have this impression that they're going to get all these top-end, high-end free agents after when their contract expires. That's not necessarily going to happen. If the Nationals offer Bryce Harper as much money as the Yankees do, he's going to stay with the Nationals. Same thing with Machado and the Orioles. Like you can't just think that players are going to come to you because you're the Yankees. Like that's something that's stuck in the mind of Yankee fans right now, and it's one of the dumbest things ever. Like you're not that special anymore. Money talks. Zach Greinke just signed the biggest contract ever, and it was with the Arizona freaking Diamondbacks. Like it's an even playing field. The days of the Yankees being the Yankees are over, and they have been over. They'll be a good team again, obviously, with the core that they have. But to think that they're just going to outright get every single free agent like they did, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, no, they're not. It's not that game anymore. And Yankee fans are still stuck in that era. They still think that that's the way it is. It isn't. And guess what? Aaron Judge isn't as good as you think he is either.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you there. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that great of a player. I think he's a really, really good player. He's an outfielder for the future for them. I think he might be around like that 280 range, honestly. But I do think he's been blown out of proportion, and it's annoying. It is annoying. The media can make that annoying, and we'll see the playoffs. I mean, I can't wait for the MLB postseason to be around. I
Yeah,
really can't.
I hope that the Yankees and Red Sox meet again. It would be the first time since '04 that they met in the postseason.
That would be sick. So it's probably the Yankees and what, like either the Angels. A lot of teams in that crapshoot.
If the,
It's like second wild card spot.
if the season ended today, it'd be the Red Sox playing the Indians and the Astros playing the wild card winner, which would be between
Yankees and Angels.
the Yankees and is it the Angels?
Yeah, it is.
So
Which is very impressive.
Yeah, especially yeah. I'm trying to get up. Yeah, so Yankees, Angels, and then Kansas City's right at their tail. Minnesota, Seattle, Texas, they're all there. Even Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Toronto are right there too, all within 4 games of each other. So
that's exciting. See, the end of the year is so exciting for all those teams fighting for that spot. Baseball postseason is great. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to try to get to my first postseason Red Sox game ever this year. So
do it.
Wish me luck. I hope to go. So yeah. All right.
Do it.
Is that going to do it?
That's going to do it.
All right, sweet. So we'll be back same time, same place next week. We'll be previewing the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight too. That's going to be happening.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be fun.
I'll be in Ithaca, New York, doing the show from there next week instead of.
Oh yeah, you're going back to school.
Yep.
That's when it kicks in for me. They say like if you're in the MLB and you retire, you're fine that off season. It's when players report back to spring training that you start missing it. So the players are starting to report back to spring training, so to speak. So it'll be fun for you. Enjoy the season, and I'll be Skyping you through the WICB production room next week.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right. See you then.